As far as I have cameras around my house. So if he was to go out the door, I don't know where he's going. I don't know where he's at or which way he's went because there's no lighting out there. And this has been going on for 27 years. Almost. One of the neighbors said she's been here in the first year she was there. It flooded. The city of Leesburg knows this is going on. I don't want to go into my old age with my house being flooded like this. I don't want to do that. I need for the city of Leesburg to rectify this. Okay? The damages that was done to my house, I have a shed in the back of my house. I have about $2,500 worth of furniture in that shed. It's flooded. It's no good. No good. I work hard. I am a CNA and I drive school buses. I've been doing this for over 25 years. And I've worked hard for what I have, and to have it flooded out, that is ridiculous. When the city of Leesburg could have rectified this before this storm because they knew about this and took care of it, and they didn't. They overlooked it. I have video from where, like I say, I have cameras around my house. So when I'm notifying the Public Works Department, the guy, when we flooded out, the guy came by the house, he didn't even stop. Didn't even look at the drains, just kept going. I have a video of that. I am tired. I'm tired of being scared whether my house is going to be here today or tomorrow. I am tired. I pay my taxes like everybody else, and I want this to be rectified. That's all I have to say.
Any other public comment? Yes. All right. We'll move on to item 5. That's the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commissioner staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item or items from the consent agenda. 2, vote on remaining items with 1 roll call vote. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Is there anything anyone wants to pull?
5B1 and 5C1.
5C1 and 5B1. All right. Anything else?
Make a motion to approve all remaining items. Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Someone please introduce 5B1.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Excuse me. Purchase request for the purchase of 3 Ford Explorer SUV 4x2 vehicles from Duval Ford LLC for the City of Leesburg Police Department in the total amount of $111,978. Duval Ford LLC is the contract holder for the Central Florida region under the Florida Sheriff's Association contract, hashtag FSA 24-VEL32-0.
Move for approval.
Second.
I pulled this just because I wanted to see, is there not a way to get a bid from a local dealership by Key Scales or Prestige versus an out-of-town dealership?
Rob Hicks, Deputy City Manager. There is, they have the opportunity to get on the state contract and the sheriff's contract. Prestige did it years ago. It was very difficult to get the quantity of vehicles because everybody's doing on them. On both the sheriff's contract and the state contract, it is the easiest way to make sure you're getting the vehicles on time and at the right price because they don't have to be negotiated out. So any of the local dealers are certainly welcome to get on there. So.
I was just trying to support local, so.
Yeah, and we do too. And,
Yeah,
and if
I understand
there's a situation where if we find a single or a couple of vehicles on the lot with a better price, we absolutely go with
Gotcha.
those.
Understand. Thank you. That's it for me, sir.
That's it. Any other questions on that? Roll call on that.
Commissioner Eastman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson? Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Someone please introduce 5C1.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, approving a mural sign for placement on the side of the building on a parcel owned by Star 5 Properties, Inc., and operating as Checkers Restaurant, being located at 2508 Citrus Boulevard in Section 10, Township 19 South, Range 24 East in Leesburg, Florida, and providing an effective date.
For approval for discussion.
Second.
So I pulled this. It says the exhibit shows a typical design in discussion with a sign company. A design specific to Leesburg is anticipated. I would prefer to see the anticipated design prior to us approving this. And then secondly, I thought all of our public arts have to go through the review committee that we assigned that didn't go through that committee, the Public Arts Committee that we all appointed a person to. It did not go through that committee. And I would, if they're going to put a mural up there, I would prefer something that ties a little more into Leesburg versus, you know, what the current artwork is. So I would like to see that happen.
Anna, can you put that up? Okay. Thank you, Anna. This has no business on 27 in Leesburg. I mean, I'm all for murals, but this is so out of character for the middle of our town, it's pitiful. The mural we have down by the, I think it's the Duke Transfer Station or whatever, by Center Street, that's beautiful. I mean, it fits right in. But this, in the middle of our town, I don't care if it says we love Leesburg. This is horrible. I mean, I don't think it even ought to move forward here. I don't think we need to go to the arts board or whatever, the committee that Alan's referring to. This just needs to be stopped now. I mean, I don't see we can even entertain this.
I think art is subjective, and I agree with you. I don't really like this, but I would like to see if our arts board can maybe work with the applicant to.
Well, if they want to come back for a
Get something going,
redesign,
yeah.
but I don't think there's anything on here they can even work with.
Just as some background why this made your desk. Obviously, I think the intention there was that it was going to be a We Love Leesburg. So this got to my desk on Tuesday prior to the storm from the Planning and Zoning Department. We haven't had an arts board meeting, I don't think, almost since its inception.
I believe you're
Since
right.
we had the issue with the Arts Committee. I'll leave it at that. So really, in my haste to get this moving, to get an answer one way or another, in preparation for the storm, I left it on this agenda. Okay, so I think you have a couple options. Okay, you can instruct it to be sent back to the Arts Board, or you can kill it now. And if you do that, we'll just get back with the applicant and say, we didn't like your picture. And if they want to move forward with some other concept, we'll bring back to the Arts Board.
Well, that's what I would recommend. Just stop this whole thing here now and let them completely redesign, because there's nothing on there that I could even begin to work with for the middle of our town.
I'm not an artist. I do appreciate art. I'm not sure.
Well, I appreciate
That I
art.
would-
I appreciate art too, Mayor, but this is not appropriate for the location.
I won't go that far, but I would say that we have an art board that is made up of people who know something about art.
Well, I mean, art's in the
so-
eye of the beholder. I
That's
agree, but I think you got to look at. Do you really want this? We're trying to beautify 27, not this. I mean, this just does not fit into anything.
This is Checkers, right? Is that up on,
Yes.
across from Walmart?
Yes.
Okay, so, again, I would rather just see it kick back to the art board. That's their job, and let them discuss whether it's how they feel about it. That's who I want.
If the art board says no, then we kick it back to the applicant.
That's correct.
Well, no, I mean, one way or the other, it's coming back to commission, right?
Correct. Yes.
I mean, the arts board's not going to approve this nonsense,
No,
right?
that's incorrect. That's incorrect.
That is incorrect.
If the Arts Board likes it, then it would be approved.
Then absolutely not. Then we can't take that chance come on now.
Even though the Arts Board approves it, it still comes back to us for final approval, just like everything else does, because they're an advisory committee.
That's how the
I
arts
think the
board
arts is
works.
advisory, historic
Yeah,
is
they're an
different.
advisory.
You know, I think art's different, but I could be
We'd
wrong.
have to double check.
Al's-
Like I
Al's
said,
putting doubt in my mind here.
again, we put that together with the thought that they were going to approve murals for downtown. And then when the art center went through the situation, we never really tested it. And so that's been X years ago. So I have to admit, my art board recollection is quite rusty.
Well, do we even know? I mean,
thought
that was
they
2
were
years ago. Is there
advisory
even
board.
anybody on the
I
arts board
thought-
that's
I
even
thought
still
they
thinks
were
they're
an
involved?
advisory
There are. I
board.
think they
Hold on.
did some
The only
appointments on that.
one that I know has some differences is really the historic because of the participation and the historic certifications and all of
The Arts
that.
Board is set up,
I
my
think
recollection,
art,
Just like the airport.
just like the airport board, just like the recreation board. They don't spend money, they don't go out and do things, they make suggestions and it comes through us. And that's what I'd like to see this. I'd like to see this come through the art board. If they don't like it, maybe they can work with Checkers to get something a little different that would be approved. But that's why we have the art board.
A little different.
Well, again, in the eye of the beholder.
Well, yes, but
Well, we always have a liaison to the Arts Committee, so I think it should be Commissioner Cannell.
there you go.
Allison's the liaison.
I'm sitting here listening. I said, I'm the representative on the board, and we definitely have been meeting and discussing.
Well, and the Arts Board
but-
is different than the Public Arts
Yes.
Board, just for clarification.
So that's why I'm sitting here listening.
Each of
but-
us commissioners appointed someone to that Public Arts Advisory Board.
So it'd be my suggestion that we refer this to that board, looking for a recommendation back to us from them before anything is approved.
I think that's okay to certainly clarify that the commission wants to see this back and we can just check the code again and make sure. I thought it was an advisory board as well.
The code doesn't say that, we need to change that, if we can change that.
Yes, sir, we'll take a look at that.
So, in that case, we're going to have a roll call,
We should make a motion to
Yeah,
table.
motion.
well, you want to table the resolution? That's probably
There's a
better.
motion on the floor right now to approve it.
Right, it would
So
be
why
a
don't you
no.
make a motion to table it to a
So-
time certain, and that will supersede your motion.
I'll make a motion to table it till time certain, so City Manager Minner can get with the Public Arts Board and go from there.
Second.
Any discussion?
Clarification. We're going to table this, but if we find the Arts Board has the authority to approve this, then I'm not for it.
I think we just agreed on that.
Okay, I didn't hear that in the
Yeah,
motion.
no, it's a good point. No,
Okay.
after all that, we agreed we'd come back here.
Okay.
We just said amend the rules or.
Right.
Do we have any staff members on that board?
No.
The
We actually, I think
arts-
we made the arts
arts
director.
Richard Colvin
chairman.
is the
liaison.
chairman.
It's 6 people,
That's correct.
7 people. I think 7 total.
It's one, I thought it was
Well,
one.
one per
One
commissioner.
per commissioner.
Yes.
And I
It's
appointed
5.
Richard,
Okay.
so.
Okay. So, Al, can I get an update from you, though, when you finally reach out to these
Absolutely.
5 members, if they're even active anymore, since it's been years since we've utilized them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Did we get a second for that, Andy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, roll call? This is on the.
Table.
To table it, correct.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Berry,
Yes.
Commissioner Connell,
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman.
Yes.
Mayor Burry.
Yes. All right. We'll move on now to item 6, public hearings and non-routine items. Would someone please introduce item 6A1?
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, creating Section 2-8 of the city's Code of Ordinances entitled Control of Access to City-Owned, Controlled, and Leased Property, establishing a process to designate facilities as public forums, limited public forums, or non-public forums, establishing trespass notice for public property, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Questions? We talked about this in depth. Grant, if you would, just a quick, for anybody in the public who may not have heard.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, this particular ordinance really is, the goal of this is to establish some limitations in terms of public property here. There are obviously areas of City Hall that are used for employee workspaces that are not necessarily open public forums for everyone to come to. And so the idea here really is sort of in line with what the city had been working on with the badges and setting up some restrictions to access in some areas of city facilities, is just to basically set that system up formally. This really is a copy of what the county did with county facilities, so there's essentially no change or difference from what the county does, and gives the city manager some authority to just sort of set up some limitations inside the buildings when public meetings are not ongoing, so that people aren't disrupted in their work, and people can have meetings with city staff as needed and that type of thing. So that's really what this is about. It also sets up a trespass process as well. That would allow people to be trespassed from public property, gives them procedures for appealing that process as well if they do get swept up in that. So they have their process to come back and challenge anything that they believe was wrongfully done in terms of removing them from any facilities.
Thank you, Grant. Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this? No public comment? We'll have a roll call.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Someone please introduce 6A2.
I'll introduce 6A2 to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Chapter 15, Article 1, General Offenses, to create Section 15-7 entitled Public Camping or Sleeping, prohibiting unauthorized camping at any time within the city, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion from anyone? Again, Grant, if you'd give us a quick.
Yes, sir. As we had talked about in first reading, there was a new state law that essentially does not allow a county or a city to authorize or otherwise allow public camping or public sleeping to occur on public property. So basically, this ordinance is the city does not currently have any prohibition against public camping or public sleeping on the books. So the purpose of this ordinance was to essentially put something in the code that would allow the city to remain compliant with the new requirements of the law. This is a slightly different flavor than we had at first reading. The difference between this version and the first reading is this version has built in sort of a notice warning system, kind of as a first step to really try and figure out a way to de-escalate the situation, resolve it without resorting to any other means. From there it moves on to a citation, and sort of the consequences can get harsher from there. But really the goal is to allow the city to be compliant with the state law requirements in terms of having a mechanism to prohibit or at least not allow or otherwise authorize public camping or public sleeping, but also to give law enforcement really as many options as we can to try and address that situation in as humane a way as we can.
Thank you, Grant. Any questions for Grant on that from anybody?
I have a question. This is on public and private property, or just public?
This is on public property.
No, private.
That's correct, right? So the prohibition is that it's unlawful for a person to engage in public camping or sleeping on public property.
Once again, Carmen Rogers, 128 North 7th Street, Leesburg, 34748, right out the back door. Once again, what are we going to do to help alleviate the people who really, truly don't have a place to live. They don't have a house. So they are going to sleep on the sidewalk at the park. I can go to the park and take a nap right now. I don't want to go to jail for it, but I could do it because I'm tired. I had a long day. I've been up since 4 something. What are we going to do? What are we putting in place to change the situation as opposed to making more ordinances to make the state law happen? What we need to do is we need to find a way to get the people off the street. We need to put some money, we need to put money to good use as opposed to what we're going to take up jail space now. We're going to incarcerate individuals who are homeless. Well, how is that helping us any? We're still paying for it as taxpayers, but only we're paying more now because now we got to give them medical care. Now we've got to give them 3 hots and a cot. We got to pay somebody to lock and turn those keys. I know they don't turn them like they used to back in the day, but you know what I mean. What are we going to do to alleviate the problem? Making more ordinances is not the way to help our situation in this city. This is not the way. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to be nice, but we have a homeless issue that needs to be addressed. Let's get the organizations that's already out here feeding. Y'all wrap around us with SALT, Kelly with SALT. I was going to actually bring them up. I was so glad to see her here, so then I didn't have to talk about that. I could use all my time for something else. But this is going to be a comprehensive program that's going to help get people off the street. Just putting them in a jail cell is not going to fix the problem. When you let them out, guess where they're coming back to? Let's talk about Miss Diane Kajowski. Miss Diane, I took her to Orlando, put her on an Amtrak train to New York City to her family. A month later, Diane, somebody called me, they said, Miss Carmen, you are not gonna believe it. I said, believe what? Miss Diane is back in Leesburg. I said, you got to be joking me, because I put on the Amtrak personally, missed my family's funeral to put her on, funeral to put her on that train. What are we gonna do to help? Because this right here isn't helping.
Well, to answer a little bit of your question, what we are addressing with this ordinance is a state law. It goes into effect October 1st. Been in effect for a couple of weeks. So we are not, we're not going out on our own saying this is how we feel about it. We're trying to comply with the state of Florida.
In your complying, though, you are not helping. We need some help for the people. We need to get the people someplace to live.
Well, that's a good suggestion, because in Lake County, we have no beds for the homeless.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
That's my point. What are we going to do as opposed to just sitting here making ordinances? That's not helping anybody. Okay, so I appreciate you all trying to obey the state law, but I don't appreciate you not fixing or giving us a solution. The homeless need a solution.
My name is Linda Gallett, and I have spent 7 years working with the homeless of our community. We have done feeding programs, we've done showers, we've done clothing, we've gotten hundreds of them immunized against hepatitis, against tetanus, against flu, COVID, all kinds of things with the help of Lake County. And I'm just very concerned about this law. And when Governor Dukakis first signed it, it was to provide for help. And there was supposed to be a campsite within each town where the people could go, they could put up their tents, and they would provide mental health assistance, drug assistance. They would have porta potties for them, whatever, and they would set up this camp, and they could stay in this camp. Well, it seems like Leesburg is tweaking the rules a little bit, and I don't know if any of you have been camping with your families before, but when the day comes to pack up and go home, It takes more than the 60 minutes that we're going to give the homeless to move to put away your sleeping bag, your air mattress, your tent, your cooler, all your belongings, and move to the next place. You just throw it in the trunk and go home. While they're doing this, they're thinking, where can I go? Where can I go? And it's said in that report that Leesburg does not have any public spaces that they can set up a camp-type setting for them to be to. So when the policeman comes by and says, excuse me, when the policeman comes by and says, okay, you have to move. You can't stay here. You're on public property. You have to move. Where do they go? If everywhere there's not one space that we can use for a camp for them, where do they go? Leesburg is a big, big town. I know because I've fed people as far away as Haynes Creek. I've fed people down to 27 and 48. I've fed people up to Fruitland Park. It's a big city. And where are they supposed to go? We have fed up to, the record right now stands at 94 people in one day. I mean, there are a lot of homeless people.
I understand.
I don't know what your point of service number was for last year, but those are never really a good sign of how many homeless there are. And they're not all scary, drug addict, freaky people. There's some really charming people out there. There are people who have worked hard jobs and their wife gets breast cancer and they leave their job. They lose their job. They lose their house. They end up on the street. No spouse, no job, no home, on the street.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really, really sad. So I don't know, 60 minutes to move on to nowhere. I think it needs a little bit more thought. Thank you.
I'm not sure how this works. Do I have to say my
Your
name?
Your name?
Okay, it's Kimberly Desrochers. And the law you are referring to is HB 1365, yes?
Yes.
Okay. It does say that, I'm sorry, I can't read with my glasses on, reach that age. It says that you have to provide temporary shelters monitored by law enforcement agencies. Homeless shelters will require the occupants to not use drugs, and they will also receive substance abuse and mental health treatments.
That's what it says, if you set up the shelter. It also says that as a city, if we set up the shelter, it cannot be contiguous to a neighborhood,
Right.
any housing, and it cannot devalue anyone's property in
Yeah,
that area. That's specific to the law.
right.
So those two things preclude Leesburg. We don't have unoccupied space
Yeah.
that meets the criteria to even have a camp.
I understand that, and I hope this doesn't sound cold because I have also helped some homeless people as
Sure.
well. But I also have a lot of problems with homeless people because I live somewhere inside the city where when they're kicked out of one place, they like to come hang out at my house. And I usually take care of the problem myself. I've only ever had to call the police once. That's the other thing. You guys want to charge them a $500 fine every time, correct?
There are different enforcement mechanisms in there. The $500 fine would come after you've not complied with a warning, after you've been cited, and after you've returned after that to the same exact place. So it takes a little bit to get to that point.
Well-
Because again, it would be the same
Right.
exact location.
I mean, they likely don't have the ability to pay for a $500 fine. And our police really do not have the time to keep spending on this problem either. So I think, I understand what you're saying, but I think this needs to be taken to a bigger level to the county or something where we have to, everybody has to get together and figure out a proper facility, a place where we can all help and not hurt. It's not going to help anyone. What you're trying to do isn't going to help anyone. I understand the businesses are going through some things, and that's unacceptable. But I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but I know it's not pushing them outside the city and causing more problems for your residents and for them as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Kelly Vayu again, just really quickly. I just want to tell you about two names, and I wish that I could have brought them both tonight so they could tell the story. But one of them is David. He's a man that comes to the Little House every week to receive the services that we provide there. And, you know, David's already suffering from anxiety. That's part of what's contributing to his homelessness. And he told me last week when I saw him there that he said, I just can't sleep. I'm just over the top with my anxiety because I know that it's just a matter of time. I'm going to get a flashlight in my face and told to move. And where do I go? Just like we're saying, where do I go? And that's sad. It would be sad for any of us to live like that. Another young man that I met, his name is Mark, and him and his partner are going through a similar situation. He said, you know, it's interesting that they want me to work, but they don't want me to sleep. So put that in perspective, because it's like, you know, if a person is trying to hold down a little part-time job, where are they supposed to sleep? Just like where are they supposed to clean up? Hence the reason why we feel the shower trailer ministry is going to be a great asset to the area. But it's hard when we're looking at the whole picture, and I know you guys are looking at the whole picture, but we expect them to somehow, you know, be responsible in society, but yet we take away whatever little bit that they may have. With, you know, being able to, like Linda said, pack their stuff up and leave and go where? And go where? So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
My name's Elizabeth Vernon, and I do have a ministry that tried to take care of some of the needs of the homeless. But I'm sitting here listening, and I'm an animal lover, and many of you probably are too. We have provided for the animals in our county and for in our area. If there's an animal that's in need, we do have a shelter for them. If we can do this for an animal, why couldn't we do this for a human being? These are people that are human beings, that somebody gave birth to them. There's a mama and a daddy that was there in the process. There's brothers and sisters. There's children many times. Many of them have much things in their life. We only have a very small mental health clinic or thing here in our area, Life Streams. And I'm a retired nurse, and I have been in Life Streams. They're overwhelmed. It's a Band-Aid. We need more help for the people. We need a wraparound service where we can reach out to them. But just to close the doors of our city is not what we need. We need to really care. Let it be known that Leesburg is a loving community. It's not only a beautiful community that reaches out to everyone, but it does something more than just what we're doing right now. Let's give them some place, a safe place to go, either a parking lot where they can, if some of them have, many of them have, went and are working 3 jobs and did buy a vehicle to live in. They have no place to park it. They have to keep moving that around. So please, I just beg you to think about how much you love your animals, love your human beings that are our neighbors. They are our neighbors. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Benita Nestler. I'm at 1431 Beverly Shore, Beverly Point. And I am a taxpayer here in Leesburg, moved here, small community, thinks it's beautiful and love it and love that atmosphere. And the homeless situation is heartbreaking. It's a horrible thing, devastating for anyone that has to have that happen to them. But because I am a taxpayer and because this is a community, unfortunately, what's happening is the degradation of our lifestyle. So I am in full support of what you're doing and what the governor, DeSantis has put in place. We provide so much with LifeStream. I was surprised at how much LifeStream there is here. LifeStream everywhere. And if people choose to do drugs and alcohol and not make lifestyle choices by changing their lives, I do not feel like I am responsible for those that choose to not go to a place where they can get help, and we do have ministries here that do provide help. So unfortunately, we had someone swimming down in Lake Griffin, totally dazed, could have been alligator bait, and there's all kinds of trash everywhere. It's a heartbreaking situation, but I don't believe it's the right thing for us to condone this behavior. And by feeding and housing and not giving them resources to change, it's the wrong avenue. So that's my say as a taxpayer here, and I don't, I'm sorry. A ministry of Jesus Christ, change your life, that will do it. And that's all I can say. So there you be.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any comments from the commission? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Reisman?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Berry?
Yes.
Mayor Burry?
Yes. Moving on to item 6B, first reading of ordinances, we have none. 6C, we have no routine items. Informational reports, any questions from anyone? No? How about city attorney items?
No reports, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And that would come to city manager items.
Well, I'll be as brief as possible. Obviously, let me update the commission and the public here this evening on the efforts in recovery from Hurricane Milton. I would say in the almost 11 years that I've been in Leesburg, Hurricane Milton was obviously the biggest storm that we have seen in my time here. And from some of the longtime employees that have worked with us, Hurricane Milton is the biggest storm that they have seen as well in the region. It's obviously the next significant impact that we had was probably, I would say, Hurricane Irma, which was September 2017. So there's really no way to underscore the storm that Milton was for Leesburg. I think it was clearly a 500-year storm. We sustained significant winds, flooding in some isolated areas, and a lot of different issues. So let me just kind of run down the list a little bit. And I'm going to start, obviously, it came up this evening, the flooding problem in Talladega and Alabama in that area. Obviously, that was a very critical area. We have worked in that area. I think it was back in 2000, far before my time in Leesburg. We did do some initial work in there. We got a CDBG grant. And so the reason with the start of when you have a storm that's a 500-year storm, building a drainage system to a 500-year storm is not practical. And so that's why when these type of situations arise, it becomes so catastrophic. That doesn't underscore the calamity that the families feel or see, or the fear or the damage that's a result of that. But what it is in our business and municipal government, it is impractical to build a system that's going to absorb damages that you receive once in a while. And once in a while, even the speaker said they've been here for 20 some odd years, and this was the biggest storm. Please hear those words. We're all struggling with that. So really, the first thing that we will be doing as a result of Milton is going back to our engineers, trying to figure out how we make a better solution for that area. So those issues did not go unseen. The city invested in that property. Obviously, with the home grant, we want that area to be successful. We know it has issues. I don't think anybody suspected that when you get 12 inches of rain in 6 hours, that we're going to be problem-free. Or see, and on the same token, see damage in a particular area, that's catastrophic. So we heard the speaker. We'll address it. The first address is getting with our engineer, which we'll be doing this week. Cliff, if you haven't talked to Keith Riddle yet, I'm sure it's next on his list. So that process will be, we will contract with Keith Riddle. If that amount is under 50 grand, you won't see the contract come before you because I will just approve it. If Keith's design contract is over 50 grand, you will see that contract become for you. We will go right to Keith Riddle on that one because he's our design consultant in-house. It will save time and we can get a design started. Upon completion of that design, we'll be back with you trying to figure out how we pay for the improvements. Don't know what the improvements are. My knee-jerk reaction from experience and from talking with Cliff is probably some sort of expanded retention area that we have to design. The lakes in Berry Park typically were designed to hold this type of water, as well as the lakes that's behind the trail. Those were designed for this type of water, but they were overwhelmed with the water. So we'll have to go back and look at different designs and ways that we can move out massive amounts of stormwater. It may be absorbing some of those empty properties and turning those into retention areas and the like. So that's really job one post-storm, is figuring out a solution for that. Other flooding around the area in the community wasn't as significant as that. And other than that area, I think we probably would have a pass as far as flooding goes. Probably the next significant issue that we had, saw a lot about it about Facebook, spent probably about an hour with Reporter last night, was the situation at the canal treatment plant. And I provided the commission a detailed report on that. I think I did that Friday or Saturday night. So let me just talk real briefly about what occurred there. Again, I can't underscore how significant Milton was. 12 inches of rain in that 4-hour span, that's a lot of rain, you guys. That's a catastrophic storm. That's a 500-year storm. 500-year storm meaning you only see that once every 500 years. So having said that, the situation at the plant was twofold. It just took on too much water too fast. That plant's capacity, the canal treatment plant, is capacity of 3.5 million gallons a day. We typically process in that plant about 2.2 million gallons of water a day. So obviously our operating norms and the capacity are significantly under. So that means the plant operates correctly in normal times. Milton, again, not a normal time. So what happened? About midnight, the power went out. The generator kicked on. I put together in that report, there's a picture of kind of how everything flows. So water comes into the plant at the head wall, which is really right off 441. So when you drive past it and you see that little place that makes the cemetery stones, right next to that to the west, that's where the head wall to the plant is. So all the wastewater from core Leesburg and the west side of Leesburg goes into that plant, about 2.2 million gallons a day. At midnight, the power went off and the generator kicked on. But by midnight, we had received so much rain that groundwater inundated underground electric cables. And those electric cables go from the generator to the switch box, which is in the building in the basement, and where we sustained flooding. So what happened was the switch gear, the underground wiring sustained massive waters, so the electric current from the generator couldn't get to the switch. So we couldn't switch from online power to generating power because of I&I, inflow and infiltration. So you're gonna hear me say I&I a couple more times tonight. So that is why the plant kicked offline. So when the plant kicked offline, the water built up, the water breached. Okay, it wasn't somebody pushing or pulling a valve and saying, we got to get water, let's just dump it. Water breached. At a peak, I think we hit about 7.5 to 8 MGD. So let me say that. Let me run these numbers past you again. The plant took in 7.5 to 8 MGD at one point when the power was off, and we processed 2.2 with a nameplate capacity of 3.5. That means over 3 times the amount of water hit the plant at a critical junction. So wastewater spewed out. Credit goes to our wastewater folks because they were on the issue as best they could. And as that water breached out of the head walls, it flooded the building, then it moved to the north into a ditch, and then that ditch line carried it to the east towards Lake Griffin. The guys immediately got out hoses and pumped, and we tried to pump that water back into the headworks, kind of to repeat. So there's a cycle. So pump out, back, overflow, and that cycle repeated. In that process, we probably saved a couple 100,000 gallons of wastewater from going into the lake, but about 1.9 million did. By about 8 in the morning, we finally got power back on, and the breach was stopped. It was cleaned up. On the ground, we put out lime. The water that got into the lake, we couldn't do a whole lot with, but then we immediately self-reported. There's state regulations from DEP, and I don't know what the litmus test on it is. They changed those probably about 3 or 4 years ago to a certain gallonage where you have to report. Obviously, we were way above that. So it's an SOP. We self-reported. The next problem that happened is as the crew started going out, collecting wastewater, getting our lift stations back online. Many of our major lift stations have generation power, so they pump and they turn on, but many of our other lift stations don't. Again, to build to this level of storm, we complain about the price tags that we see now. So if we were building to a level of a 500-year storm, your hair would really be on fire. So long story short, we go out, though, and we rotate. Part of the standard operating procedures in an emergency situation like this is we go from lift station to lift station to lift station around the community, and we pump those down. As far as I know, Cliff, we had no lift station spillages. So that's a good thing because I colloquially call it the lift station rodeo because we go around the horn and pump. So we did that successfully. But what that did was, as what more wastewater came in, everything's kind of a delay, like a flood. If you're downstream, the flood's up and it works down to you. The same in the plant. So we got in more water, and so we balanced out at a peak capacity that was going into the plant at 7 MGD, which we held for a couple days. So even though the plant got back up and we didn't breach the headworks anymore, the plant continued to process wastewater, and when it works that fast, we can't get to what we call a reuse quality of the reuse water. And so we have what we call a reject water. So reject water is pretty close to the quality of a reuse water, but not quite there yet. So in a normal time, what we do is we take that reject water, we put it in a big pond, and we feed it back into the plant. And so then it clears it, and then that clears out, and then we can move it off. And so now how we move it off is through our reuse process, and most of it now goes to the villages, but I digress. So that's the process. In this process, because the plant got so much wastewater in it, our reject pond began to build. And so what happened is there's a blow-off inlet that's in the pond. It gets to a certain level, and then the reject water comes up in the pond. It goes in that inlet through another pipe into the same ditch that I mentioned earlier, and then out to the west. So as waters continued from the system to come in and be processed, we had excess reject water. Again, we reported it to DEP. I would argue, like I said in my report, that reject water is really equivalent to, probably even better, to regular storm water that's hitting the lakes. So again, we reported that to DEP. I think it was about 1,400 hours yesterday that the plant settled out, started hanging around 5 MGD, and at 5 MGD, still double what we normally do. All the breaches, all the issues were stopped, all the things were cleaned up. And overall, I think we lost about 1.9 million gallons of wastewater. We saved a couple 100,000, and then we lost a couple 100,000 gallons of reject water that went into the lake. Again, reported. Let me throw a couple more numbers out at you because I think one of the most important questions that the media asked me was, is wastewater contamination a problem? And the obvious answer to that is yes, wastewater is, contamination is a problem. That's why we treat wastewater. But at this level, I don't anticipate that we're going to see any punitive damage. It was a cataclysmic storm, and it was an act of God. And really, our crews did a great job balancing the emergency and keeping it as minimal as possible. But then at those levels of wastewater that got out of the plant, no, I don't think you're going to see any contamination. It would be equivalent to your house. You have a 2,000 square foot house, and you spill chocolate milk on the brand new carpet. You clean it up, it's not an issue, and it only hit a couple of square inches of your 2,000 square feet. If you continue to spill chocolate milk on your carpet, then yeah, you got a problem. So the lake is the same way, in small incremental levels, Mother Nature takes care of itself. If we were spilling 1.9 million gallons of wastewater every day, 24/7, 365, it would be a problem. But the level of contaminant that got into the lake was, I'll throw out another number for you. We estimated that Lake Griffin is 3.8 billion gallons of water. Okay, and we put in about 1.9 million. So that's 0.065%, just if you wanted to know the math. I think that's important to bring up because I think, again, the guys did a great job. I think there's always alarm when those type of things happened. But again, the calamity of the storm, it was a big deal. Let me finish up. I don't mean to be going on with that, but those were two important issues that I think needed to get covered properly. And I think at the end of the day, we'll probably work with DEP. If we got to find some other areas, we are receiving hopefully $19 million of funding. And so I'm sure we'll probably spend some of that $19 million at the canal plant. Not that it's not functioning properly, but there's always things to do. So again, I think a lot of credit to the guys, and again, the calamity of the storm. And I know threw out a lot of numbers at y'all, but those are important for reference points. Then the third thing I would point out is the electric recovery. Again, the size of the storm. I think too what makes Milton special in a bad way is how many onesies and twosies that we got. So long story short, at about 7 o'clock, we were down to 150 customers out. A lot of credit to the electric department for getting everything back up. We will continue to keep in touch with you. A lot of credit to some of the resources that we got in from mutual aid. And so if you're still out, we're very sorry. But I will say 57 hours into the event, we were 90% up, and that is a significant sign of a great operation. So a lot of credit to Brad and his guys out at the electric department, guys and ladies. Finally, debris will be getting picked up. If you have debris, get it out to the right-of-way. If you can get your stumps and big trees that might be in your backyard, if you can get those out to the right-of-way, we will get whatever you pick up. Some of the extremities have already been picked up in the town. The extremities, like I spoke with Commissioner Connell earlier, like Arlington Ridge, Legacy, those areas. Some of the newer subdivisions around town have been picked up in the Silver Lake area. Down south, Leesburg are being picked up. So our focus is going to be kind of center, core, out. We started those operations today. We'll get everything picked up, that first pass, and we will continue to pick stuff up. So just encourage everybody to get your debris. Please keep your debris pile segregated. So if you've got that damaged couch or whatever you're going to throw out on the street, we prefer you not do that. But if you do, at least keep everything segregated. Other than that, I can't thank the department heads enough. I think Again, I think we were very well prepped. Joe did an excellent job with us as our emergency management director. I'm not going to mention everybody's name, but everybody I think did a fantastic job recovering. Of course, I'll answer any questions y'all have and formalize stuff up. I don't have any numbers as far as costs yet. I understand the president declared that we were a disaster area. So we will start working, next phase is to start working all the paperwork to start getting the FEMA reimbursement. And we will report accordingly.
Any questions for Al? Roll call.
Commissioner Connell,
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Reisman,
Couple things. Obviously, echo city manager with all the thank yous. Our staff and department heads did a really good job. Any updates? I know we don't talk about it tonight. Just can we get an update on what we requested for the security upgrades for the customer service downstairs in floor 1? We don't.
They're super quick. We are putting a glass wall up there. I think it goes up. It doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling, but that's in the works.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Pastor John and the CDC for that informative update. I think us as a city, all the way, everyone, we can do a little, maybe improve on how we get so many good things happening in our city and all over our city out there. I think we have so much good happening in our city, and I think we could do better getting that information out there, because there was a lot of things that I had no idea that you guys were doing. So great job, and I think we can get some of those things on your list pretty quickly. And then we have a football game after this that we are the sponsor, so if you have the availability to come at halftime, they'll be recognizing us, and we get to go out and accept the plaque with all the team. And then lastly, this Saturday at the college is the Walk for Freedom walk to bring awareness for human trafficking in our country. With that, I'll end it there.
Commissioner Peterson,
I just want to thank all our city staff for all their efforts, specifically Public Works and Electric Department.
Commissioner Berry.
Yes, I'm going to try to make it brief. Actually, I had 3 things, but I'm just going to make 2. First, I'd like to make a comment on the meeting that I missed last month, September 23rd, when there was discussion brought up about the CRA money owing to the electric company. I truly appreciate it with the not knowing anything about the subject matter, totally nothing about, related to District 1 in my absence that it was discussed. I don't think that was the best practice. I know this is my only opportunity to share my feelings, saying that there was a discussion made without the CRA commissioners or myself being here. Not knowing about it, I understand that it was a note from some time ago for the building of the resource center, and I realized that it's important, but I didn't realize it was an emergency or something that we needed to do to replace as soon as possible, because that's been how many years? I mean, Alan, for resource center being built?
5?
More than that.
It's more than 5.
6,
Yeah.
7 or 8.
But anyway, I just felt that I'm read it through the notes and the discussion. I didn't think it was a good practice to be discussing processes and means of maybe amending our budget that we just approved and voted on, that maybe go back to, without giving the CRAs and myself as a commissioner an opportunity to discuss or even share the desires that we have for developing the community. I think it's important that I share this because I believe in working together, and I think we're a great group. But if I didn't say anything, you would never know where I was, and I can't do it one-on-one, so I have to do it public. I hope that this won't happen again, and I would never do it to any one of you all if discussing something with your district without your presence. So just in a lighter note, I had to let you know where I'm standing with this. I know that I'm a team player, and I'm still learning, and I appreciate each one of you all because you helped me for things that I need to know. So just wanted to let you know where I was with this, and I hope that this doesn't happen again. On a lighter note, I want to say kudos to, again, all of the department heads and their staff, and a special thanks to the 2 Corys in the gas department for assisting me with an issue on Saturday after hours. So thank you again. Al, I thank you for the updates that you provided from the minute on, from 7 a.m., I think I was talking to you Thursday on, till I probably worked your nerves, but guess what? We got it done, and I was getting responses from residents and constituents saying thank you. our power's on, like I didn't have any control, but I was letting them know what the city's doing, the process, how it worked, explain it to them. I still would then share that with Al. He'll say done. Everything was like a check mark, done. So I want to say great. I've never experienced this before. This was a learning process, and I can say it ran pretty smooth. I don't know of any hookups, and the updating that the commissioners had, the information to get out to the community was perfect, and thank you.
Mayor Burry?
Nothing tonight.
Can I just say one thing to Allison Berry? That was me. I brought that up, and I know we can't discuss it. It was a last-minute thing because we were approving the budget, and when I talked to the city manager about that. So I do apologize because I know you weren't here at that meeting, but we did decide to table it for a future discussion with the CRA and the commissioners. So
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do accept apologies.
But we are allowed to discuss issues. We're elected by district, but we represent the entire
Correct,
city.
but
So
we-
there's a fine line here. I mean, I
yeah,
just
we
wanna be
can't
sure we're
talk
all clear.
individually, but we can talk here.
No, but we have a right to talk about issues that are citywide with the
Yeah,
commissioner missing.
but I respect her opinion on that.
But we
and
did table it.
We did table it for a future discussion. So, but I see her point.
I'm going to leave it there. It's not a right or anything. It's just a level of respect, I think. That's where I'm coming from. So I accept the apology.
Sorry, thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
That's all right. Nothing from me.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a-
See you at the football game.
Okay.